G'day guys, welcome to another edition of This Week in Footy. John Donohoe, Peter Seros here, and Pete's an angry man this week, unfortunately. His Tigers didn't really live up to expectation. Pete, we both tipped Richmond, but they were pretty poor on the other Friday night.
They were pretty poor, and because they were so poor, I'm taking this down, this shit. And you know what? Let's be honest, St Kilda were pretty shit too. So
get them down. Get rid of them. We're going without the props this week, as we were both pretty disgusted with our team's performances. Saints up by 40 points, 30 points at quarter time, and close to that margin at half time, and they got belted. They ended up losing by 40 points, and pretty good effort by Carlton, I would have thought, but not happy with the Saints.
No, not happy, and I'm not happy with Richmond. They couldn't kick to save their lives. I could probably do a better job than that, and some of the disposals was terrible. It was shocking. Absolutely shocking. How do you miss from 15 metres out like 10 times? I get it once or twice in a game, but 10 times? Come on. Seriously, you had the same scoring shots. Anyway.
We'll talk more about Richmond later, but we're going to change it up a little bit this week. We've been noticing the show has been running a little bit long over the last few weeks. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go.
You keep rambling on about junk.
You
talking.
You just rambled on about Richmond, so we wasted 35 seconds. So we'll just go through a few of the highlights from last week, and obviously the traditional Anzac Day game is Essendon Collingwood. Pretty good game, as they always are. Low scoring as well. Paul Seedsman walked away with the Anzac Day medal. He was pretty good. And Joe Watson, you reckon, was pretty good as well?
I liked his efforts. I liked all of Essendon's efforts, to be honest. They were hard at the ball. I thought they were going to win after half-time. But, credit to Collingwood. They came back, and they came back hard, and they deserved the win thoroughly.
How about the Port Adelaide Hawthorn game? Pretty good game. Obviously, Port got out to 52 points at the start of the game. They kicked the first 8 goals. And then Hawthorn, the champion team they are, they wrestled the ascendancy back.
I knew they were going to bounce back. I thought it was a bit too far for them, obviously, but I knew they were not going to allow that sort of loss to happen, and they're going to really give it to Port Adelaide next time they play. Alistair Clarkson got in a bit of a touch-up as well.
Yeah, imagine if I got this close to you.
Yeah, if you got... Go away. No, but seriously, yeah.
You're going to be on the news for that.
It was so cool. It was called for. I would have done the same thing if I was him.
I think it's been blown out of proportion. If a drunk idiot gets that close to you, your personal space has been invaded. The first thing you want to do is push him away. Like, exactly. I do that to you all the time because you're an idiot.
But no, that's fair. That's a fair call.
The guy was goading him as well, and I'm on Alistair Clarkson's side 100% here. He shouldn't have had to apologise. As far as I'm concerned, he did nothing wrong, and the people coming out saying, "Oh, he shouldn't have laid a hand on him." Like, grow up, seriously, all right?
I reckon the other guy should have come out and apologised.
He didn't belt him. He pushed him in the head, yeah, but he didn't belt him. So, Clarko, I reckon you did the right thing, and you should stand tall. But anyway, we'll move on. The last year's grand finalists, Sydney, they were beaten as well on the weekend. And Freo, it was a bit like the Hawthorn Port Adelaide game. Freo came out of the blocks really nicely. And the Swannies, champion team, they wrestled it back again. They kicked 7 goals in the third quarter and almost got the chocolates.
That's right. It was a big game, big games, and it was just an amazing round. But we're going to have to press on because you ramble too much. We're going to have to move on.
Yeah, I want to talk about
what game do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the Doggies' performance against Adelaide.
That's fine. That's fair enough. That's a good.
We've been doing this show for a year and a bit, and now you're finally taking charge, are you?
I'm taking charge because you just talk too much.
You are the one. We'll move on. You're the one who talks too much anyway. But this week, the games are as follows. Friday night, cracker at the MCG. Mick Malthouse coaches the record number. I think it's 715 or 16 or something like that. Carlton beat Collingwood.
I think there was a technicality that Kevin Bartlett came out and said last week that he should have technically gotten the record last week because Jock McHale was absent for a game in the 40s or something.
Technicalities,
it was a big technicality or something like that. But anyway, yeah, probably should have gotten it. But
what do you reckon's going to go on here?
Well, Collingwood Carlton, it's always usually a good clash, regardless of where the two are on the ladder.
Carlton usually line up pretty well against Collingwood.
They do, and I don't think they're going to win because going off this statistic alone, St Kilda got destroyed by Collingwood while St Kilda just lost to Carlton. Therefore, I think Carlton are not as good as Collingwood.
I agree, but at the same time, there's something about Carlton Collingwood that Carlton lift for. Obviously, Mick's milestone, and look, I wouldn't be surprised if Carlton came out and somehow defied expectations because a lot of people are talking up Collingwood now. No one really expected them to be 3-1. Full credit to them. I think Collingwood are going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carlton jumped them.
That's fair. Moving on to the next game.
Tigers.
Richmond take
Geelong.
on Geelong.
You excited?
No, I'm not excited. I think Richmond are going to get smashed if they go out there the way they did last week. But I don't think they will. To be honest, I think they should lift. Hopefully, we get back some key quality players. We had 8 players out of our best 22 missing on the weekend.
Where's Deledio at? Is he still two away?
I'm hoping he's in the game.
Well, let's hope.
Let's just see.
I do as well. But I think the Tigers as well. I think you're a bit harsh on the Tigers. I know.
It was really poor.
I know as a supporter.
It was a poor effort.
I know myself, even as a supporter, of St Kilda, it's hard to be optimistic at times, and but you've got to stick fat. And I think the Tigers will bounce back really well here. They were bitterly disappointed with their performance last week, and look, Geelong weren't that great, and unfortunately we could be seeing the end of an era. But as we've said, don't write them off just yet, but we could be seeing the end of it. I think the Tigers quite easily for me. Sydney are taking on the Western Bulldogs, and the Doggies, obviously the surprise packet of last week. It's at the SCG, a bit smaller ground. Their run and carry won't be as easy, but I'm really excited to see the Bont again. Bontempelli just weaves his way through traffic, and it'll be interesting to see if he can get much space against the Swans.
I think he will, but at the same time, I don't think it'll be enough to get the win. I think, the Bulldogs have been fantastic this season. They've really improved, and they look strong. They actually look strong. Imagine if Griffiths and Cooney stayed, but I'm just saying...
Griffin.
Yeah,
Griffiths
sorry, I'm
plays for
thinking
Richmond.
Griffiths plays for Richmond. I'm still absurd with his game.
Disgusted with him.
It's still in my head.
Gold Coast are taking on Brisbane in the battle of
You didn't let me tip.
Well, you didn't let me tip before, so we'll just move on. Who are you tipping?
Swans.
Gold Coast are taking on Brisbane in the battle of the cellar dwellers at Metricon Stadium. Both of them winless. This could be an absolute boil over, this one. I think the Gold Coast are going to smash them. But Brisbane, they've been poor. So I've got no interest in this game.
Do you reckon it'd be a draw and no one will have a win still by the end of the round?
It's possible.
Possible.
Knowing footy at the moment, knowing tipping at the moment, it's that hard. That probably will happen.
I think Gold Coast are a little bit ahead of Brisbane. They've been ordinary this season, but slightly less ordinary than Brisbane has been, so they should get the win.
They were still pretty poor against...
I said slightly less ordinary.
Yeah, they were still pretty poor against GWS, though.
Now moving on to North Melbourne Hawthorn, and this is definitely the nail-biter of the round. In my opinion, I think North Melbourne, they're a tough team. They're a tough team, and they're going to play well. And Hawthorn, they're going to be hurting after last week, and we know the quality side that they are. This is going to be under 10 points, in my opinion, but Hawthorn was away.
Yeah, I think North are coming along quite nicely. Obviously, slow starters. They lost round 1, and then they lost to Port Adelaide. And but I think they got their mojo back in that Port Adelaide game. They started to run and carry a bit. Obviously, didn't get the points, but I think against Geelong, they showed that they can really be a giant killer. Not that they're going to beat Hawthorn. They did beat them last year. They played very well against them. That was at the MCG. They do generally play Etihad a lot better as well, and they play there more often. But I can't see Hawthorn losing twice in a row, and they'll be fired up. West Coast take on GWS at Domain Stadium. I think the GWS are going to win this one. The only issue for me is that they have to travel over to Perth and get over there. They're still young, 21, 22, 23-year-olds. Can they maintain their intensity 4 rounds into the season? West Coast, I'm still not sold on.
Now, West Coast have been that up and down sort of side, and GWS, I don't think we've tipped them more ever. I think we've tipped them more in the last 4 rounds than we've ever tipped them in 3 years. I think they're going to win as well. I think they're just going to get over the line. But if West Coast, again, go out there with their best foot forward and they play their best football, which they probably did against Carlton a few weeks back, they will win. But I think GWS are going to win. I can't see West Coast doing that again.
I think GWS are looking pretty special at the moment, and they're talking about that F-word finals, but it's a matter of them maintaining their intensity, as I said. But I think they'll win this one, and they'll move potentially to the top of the ladder. Now, one game we forgot to put in the little teleprompter here is St Kilda to take on Essendon. That's on Sunday afternoon at Etihad Stadium. Now, the fact that Essendon lost last week will make them a lot hungrier, and I can't see the Saints winning.
Yeah, sorry about that. I can't see the Saints winning either. I don't think it'll be a massive blowout, but I think it'll be a solid 30-point win.
They usually flog us.
Yeah, but I think it'll be a 30-point win. I think it'll be a solid win.
Thanks for your confidence. Unfortunately, I think the Bombers will win as well.
I don't even think that's confident. I said you're going to lose by 5 goals. That's confident.
The Saints fade outs are a big issue at the moment. they get off to a good start, and then they can't maintain their intensity at the contest. But there's a lot to work on there.
Now moving on to Melbourne Freo. Now this match at the MCG usually doesn't get a big crowd, but it will this time because let's just say Freo are in fantastic form. But Melbourne, they've actually won games this year, and they're looking up there.
2 out of 2.
Yeah,
Sorry, 2 out of 4.
Yeah, 2 out of 4, and they're playing fantastic football. And even the games that they've lost, they've still played pretty good football in that time. I think a lot of Melbourne fans are going to get down there and support their side because they were absolutely... There was no Melbourne fans when I watched. I was at the game, the Richmond-Melbourne, and Richmond dominated the crowd. Like I just noticed it was at least 70% Richmond, 30% Melbourne, and I don't think you need that. I think more Melbourne supporters should be out there. Your side's playing well. Get out there and actually support them. Melbourne are going to lose, though.
Yeah, Freo, the informed side in the comp, obviously sitting on top of the ladder, the only undefeated side as well, and I think they'll make it 5 in a row this week. They're playing free footy, and they're playing it as if it's their last chance. And I explained at the start of the year, I thought it was their last opportunity to win it, and they're making me look like a genius right now,
which is hard to do.
Which is hard to do. I know.
Really hard to do because he's not that bright.
I know, correct. But I can't say Freo losing this one. I'm really interested to see the battle between McFarlane and Hogan. If in fact he does go to Hogan, Alex Rance hadn't lost a one-on-one contest for the entire season or for a while last year, and Hogan beat him in the first contest that they went up against. So Hogan,
and every other one after that.
Hogan,
as well.
A pretty strong boy, and he's been touted as something special, and by God, he's living up to it. So that'll be a good battle, but I can't see Melbourne winning. Now, the last game of the round is the showdown at Adelaide. This will be a fiery encounter. It always is. Port Adelaide v Adelaide. I think Port might win this one. Adelaide were pretty poor, but they'll be keen to bounce back. Phil Walsh wasn't happy with their performance, but it'll all hinge really, I reckon, on if Robbie Gray can get back in the side for Port Adelaide.
Now, the Crows, yes, they didn't play very well last week, but they are in fine form this season, I meant. Fine fashion. I don't know what fine fashion was. Fine form this season. They've absolutely blitzed it. Walker, fantastic.
He went missing on the weekend though.
He did, and it showed. It showed, and Adelaide didn't play that well. I think he's going to need to have a big game, and Port Adelaide, they're going to need to shut him down if they're going to want to win. But at the same time, they played fantastic last week.
Yeah, this will make it 3 in a row for Port if they can get the job done on Sunday, and that'll just catapult their season back on track. They'll get back into the 8, and from there, their confidence will be sky high, and they can work to get back into that top 4 position and go maybe one better than last year and win that premiership. That's all we got time for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Let's hope the Saints and Tigers can bring a better effort this week for our sake, and maybe he'll be in a better mood next week.
Maybe. I might keep the jumper up there next week.
Until next week, I'm John Dono. He's Peter Saros, and we'll see you then.
Very well.